I've been winning so long, it's like alchemy.
EP, the Broad Street Bully, Big Body P, Paschall, we ain't doing it. Sorry, we ain't doing it. It didn't take long for Eric Paschall to announce himself to the NBA. A 23-year-old out of Sleepy Hollow, New York. There's nothing sleepy about his game. Dropping 25 and 34 points back-to-back just his second week in the league. Let the hype train begin. Hold up though real quick. I want to shout out The Drip. My guy, Mikel Anthony, is not only a chef, but a clothing designer and a huge Dubs fan, as you can see by the Splash-inspired gear. Go peep the storefront. My girls, they want the tie-dye drip. Yeah, that's back in style, but you'll probably catch me in the hoodie though, because it is about to be hoodie season. Go check out his YouTube channel, That Drip Station, and of course, the storefront. Links in the description. Now, if you had the stomach to stick out the rest of the shortened season, or quote, gap year for the Dubs, you would know he hit a bit of a rookie wall. Not necessarily physically, but as he moved up the scouting report for teams and the league became more familiar with his game, he was no longer sneaking up on guys. The first thing the team started to do was take away his drive left. Eric, just like his boy in Utah, he loves to get downhill left and power hop into a midi or a finish at the rim. And you saw defenders start to sit on that and dare him to get back right. I have no doubt he'll develop counter moves to the right because of his handle already. He's got a nice in and out and a hezzy. In the midi, it's pure. That elevation on it really helps him. The other thing that teams started to realize was he wasn't looking to create for others. He's a true New York hooper in the sense that he's most comfortable in ISO situations looking to get buckets. Honestly, his mixture of strength, bounce, and quickness, it's kind of hard to understand how he lasted until the 42nd pick. If he measured out at, let's say, 6'9", I think he would have easily been a lotto pick. I think the fact that he's essentially a 6'6" power forward is what scared teams, not so much his age. Let's talk a little more about his mentality, though. You see, there are plenty of guys in the league that could go to work like EP and get buckets in ISO situations, but they're simply not comfortable touching and holding the ball that much. The mentality of a scorer is such that you don't feel guilty taking 3, 4, 5 shots in a row. I'll use Harrison Barnes as an example. He will do it if he's forced into it, but he doesn't want to. Eric Paschall wants to. And we saw that mentality all year. There were times late in games where it was like, clear out, let him go to work. And he wanted the ball each time. That mentality is not as easy to find as you may think, or at least in a player with a skill set that would match that mentality, right? Now, obviously, moving forward with a healthy roster, his role is going to change and his opportunities are going to change. In fact, I think later in the year, we saw Kerr and the team kind of trying to groom him towards that by not calling his number as much. Another trend that everyone started to notice was how much better he played at the 4. But not just that, how much better he played without Draymond on the floor eating up all the space. So naturally, you may think, well, his best role would be as a 6-man, where he can ISO more with the second unit. And that very well may end up his role next year. But there is potential for him to play heavy minutes with the starters. Because as fun as his bully ball ISO game is to watch, I think the most intriguing thing about him is his defensive versatility. He moves so well laterally, and he's so strong, I think he can guard 3 through 5. Now, you're not asking him to guard Embiid and the handful of true 7-footers, obviously. But on most nights, I think he could presumably switch through all 3 positions defensively, much like Barnes and KD after him. The question then becomes, who is going to be able to stretch the floor between he and Draymond? Now, a lot has been made about Eric changing his 3-ball. That same high leg kick jumper he uses in his pull-up game, it really hurts his long ball. It's too inconsistent, and it actually gives defenders more time to close out. Not to mention, it usually results in a late release on his way down. I'm on record. I thought it was a mistake to wait until the offseason to change the jumper. One, the longer you wait, the harder it will be. It's hardwired in your muscle memory. And two, this season, the stakes are going to be much higher with a healthy roster and the team fighting for playoff position. This last season, I thought, was the perfect opportunity for Eric to figure it out in live game situations, again, where the stakes weren't high. It didn't really matter if he was making or missing them. The only thing it would hurt was his ego. Honestly, I'm more skeptical that he can change it because he put it off. That being said, I feel like he's got a much better shot at fixing it than Draymond does. Hell, I mean, even if he sticks to the current form now, he probably is more efficient than Draymond has looked out there, right? But again, if neither is going to be able to stretch the floor at, let's say, 33%, then I think it's safe to say we won't see much of them on the floor together. But hold on, daydream with me here just for a second. Let's be a little optimistic. What if both came around to a reasonable percentage and we could roll a small ball lineup out of Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Paschall, and Draymond? Imagine how dynamic that lineup could be in the open court and out in transition. Anyway, let's talk more about the more likely scenario. Paschall running with the second unit and perhaps being the focal point offensively. Obviously, he's going to have an easier time ISOing against second unit defenders. But what was encouraging late this year was all of a sudden, he started dropping some dimes. He started looking to create for others out of his ISO game. I think understanding the gravity and attention that he was drawing. Something that we really didn't see him in was pick and rolls. And I think that's because we had so many non-shooters on the floor last season. He had to be a spacer when he probably wasn't. But then when you consider his bully ball and his skill moving downhill, I think him in pick and roll action is maybe an untapped area of his game. And with a second unit, perhaps with a Jordan Poole or a young rookie playmaker, that could be an area he could excel moving forward. Now, I've already talked about how versatile of a defender I think he can be and how impressed I am with him on that side. It's funny, though, because he's an ISO scorer and he's kind of an ISO defender at this point, because when it comes to his team defense, that's where he's lacking. He watches the ball too much. His rotations, they're a lot of the time too little, too late, and he gets caught up on screens with that big frame. That's probably a little bit of a give and take. And then if you pay attention, he doesn't love to run the floor. He's not a guy that's going to hustle up and down the floor. And again, that's probably some give and some take considering how he's built. Overall, though, I think you could make a case for Eric being the steal of the 2019 draft when we're talking overall value of pick. He's no doubt a piece moving forward. And why I feel so comfortable saying that is twofold. First, his physical attributes we talked about, strength, bounce, and quickness, are all very much at an NBA level. And then personality. Not only does he have confidence and swagger, but he strikes me as a player that is willing to do what's asked of him. So however he fits into this roster, I think he will embrace that and strive to get better.
I've been winning so long, it's like alchemy.